This is my first art vlog, a little behind the scenes glimpse into my creative process. It's a slower, more personal kind of video where I take you along as I prepare for one of my favorite times of the year. Most of it was filmed back in September, long before the leaves turned fully golden, but life has a way of slowing things down, and I'm only now finding the right moment to bring it to you. As I look back at the quiet days of spring and summer, I can feel how gently time has carried us here. September always arrives with a certain fragrance of autumn, leaves beginning to fall and landscapes slowly turning from green to shades of orange and brown. And with autumn also comes the season of art challenges. Every October, artists from around the world gather around prompts, creativity, and community. For me, that means Peachtober, a challenge created by the wonderful artist Fury Little Peach. Each year, she shares a prompt list and curates a dedicated feed highlighting different artworks from the community. But what excites me most is not just the act of participating, it's also witnessing the imagination of so many artists and the beautiful connections that blossom during this time. Last year, I decided to approach the challenge in a more playful and narrative way. Instead of random illustrations, I created two little elf characters who carried me through the whole month. Prompt after prompt, they lived small adventures together, and to my surprise, they quickly became very dear to my audience. So much so that people began asking me about their names. I hadn't planned that far, so I asked them suggestions, I picked my favorites, and together we voted. And that is how Basil and Pepper were born. These two characters created such a strong connection with my audience that people were genuinely looking forward to their next adventure every day. And that's why this year I felt it would be wonderful to bring them back. And just like that, here we are again. This year, Shaan released the prompt list earlier than usual, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted to start preparing. The prompts are as delightful as ever. But before jumping into the first sketches, I knew I had to get organized. I always dream of completing all 31 prompts, but let's be honest, with a toddler and a busy life, that's not an easy task. Still, I wanted to give myself the best chance to stay consistent this year. As a full-time mom, artist, and YouTuber, I often struggle to stay organized and productive. There are so many tasks, projects, and ideas constantly running through my head, and sometimes it just feels overwhelming. Recently, I took a class on Skillshare called Bullet Journaling for Creatives by Dylan Mirzvinsky, an illustrator I've admired for a long time. Her approach to journaling is made specially for creative people and even for those who, like her, live with ADHD. This class really helped me find a system that works, one that helps me clear mental space, organize my days, and keep my creative projects in order. I love how she teaches to use the journal not only for to-do lists, but also as a space for thoughts, ideas, and reflections. Since I started applying her method, I felt so much calmer and more focused. It's made a real difference in how I plan my days and manage my time between family, life, and art. If you don't know it yet, Skillshare is an online learning platform with thousands of classes in creativity, illustration, productivity, crafts, and so much more. It's where I go whenever I want to learn something new, refine my skills, or simply feel inspired by other artists and creators. If you'd like to explore this class or thousands of others, the first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, plus 20% off your first year. Get started today. Thank you to Skillshare for kindly sponsoring this video and for helping me find better ways to stay creative, organized, and inspired every day. With my plan in place, I finally felt ready to start. But I had a big question. Should I bring back my little elves, Basil and Pepper? Last year, they became beloved characters and many people kept asking me if they would ever return. So I asked my community and the answer was almost unanimous. Yes, Basil and Pepper are coming back. That was the first decision made and it felt right. Once I decided the theme, I started dreaming about the style. I've been so inspired by vintage greeting cards, Mary Blair's charming colors and stylized figures, and the tender, nature-filled worlds of Gyu Fujikawa. But then came the hardest part, choosing the medium. My heart longs to traditional media, watercolor, gouache, but reality pulls me toward digital. With a toddler who naps only 2 hours a day, digital simply makes more sense. It allows me to work in small blocks of time, late at night, or whenever I find a moment of quiet. I even considered a faster, sketchier approach with ink or markers, but knowing myself, I always ended up complicating things, adding too many details. Keeping it simple is always a real challenge for me. So I decided to test my idea for the first prompt, a corn, in Procreate, just to see if I liked the result. And to my surprise, I love it. I had planned to try different techniques, but the digital version felt exactly right. Which means, for the first time ever, you'll see me working digitally here on this channel. This weekend we went to our very first Kirby Fest here in Germany, a pumpkin festival. There were endless varieties of pumpkins, rides for the kids, and so much delicious food. For me, it felt like a little reminder of why I love autumn so much: the colors, the textures, the coziness in the air. And of course, it was also a beautiful opportunity to disconnect for a while, to just enjoy family time and let the atmosphere inspire me. Salvador was obsessed with the pumpkins. He kept picking them up, even the big and heavy ones, and bringing them to me with so much pride. It was adorable. Days like these remind me that inspiration doesn't only come from the studio or from the sketchbook. It's in everyday life, in the way we experience the world with the people we love. And I want this project to hold a little bit of that too. This morning I went with Salvador to a big open field near our home. There's a football field there, and it's one of our favorite places to spend some time outdoors. I usually bring a blanket and just relax while he plays football. My idea was to start sketching some of the next prompts there, surrounded by nature, but as soon as I pulled out my sketchbook and pencils, Salvador wanted to draw too. He absolutely loves scribbling and painting, so my sketchbook became his playground for a while. It wasn't what I had planned, but it turned into the sweetest moment, just sitting in the grass, watching him draw with so much joy. Later, when he went down for his nap, I finally had a quiet moment to sketch the ideas for the next prompts, including the kite, and then I developed that illustration digitally in Procreate. Here's a little time-lapse of that process. Today I spent the whole morning at the park with Salvador. He played, I knitted a little, and we even went down the slide together. Just simple moments of everyday life. Sometimes I wonder if people might find this part of my life boring, because most of my days look exactly like this. Parks, gardens, open fields, just playing with him. But then I realized that, as a children's book illustration, these small, ordinary days are actually magical. The prompt for the day was slug, and by pure coincidence, we found one on our way to the park. It felt almost magical. Watching it slowly cross the path made me think about how much my own rhythm has changed since Salvador was born. I no longer have endless hours to dedicate to art or illustration. Everything I do now happens in tiny steps, almost at a snail's pace. But then I noticed, when we came back, the slug was gone. Slow as it may be, it was still moving forward. That thought stayed with me, and so I choose this phrase for today's illustration. Even the slowest journey has its wonders. It's Thursday, and we're enjoying a small family walk in the late afternoon, visiting the library, wandering through market stands, and ending the day with ice cream.
Está o peixinho.
The colors and textures of the market filled with fruits and flowers sparked the idea for today's prompt. Instead of the more obvious gingham associations, I imagined basil and pepper sitting at the tea table, almost the size of the cups themselves, with a gingham tablecloth as the backdrop. A small, whimsical scene inspired by that afternoon. Today was a quieter day with little time left for Peachtober, but in between I found myself revisiting Peter Rabbit, one of my greatest inspirations. Those tender pastoral scenes where animals live like people remind me of the kind of gentle magic I want to bring into my own illustrations. Today I finally found a peaceful moment to open my visual journal again. After so many busy days, it felt good to simply sit down, paint, and capture the mood of the season, warm colors, pumpkins, and little touch of autumn everywhere. This page became a quiet reflection of these early fall days, inspired by the Pumpkin Festival and that comforting sense of change in the air. Later, I also had a bit of time to work on the prompt poppy. It was one of those rare moments where everything felt calm, Salvador napping, the house quiet, and I could just focus on enjoy the process. Here's a little time lapse of that illustration. mid-September already and I've only managed to complete 5 illustrations for the challenge. Time is starting to feel tighter. There are videos to edit, projects awaiting, and all those everyday tasks that keep filling the hours. I love this project so much, but lately I can feel how hard is it to keep up. Each illustration takes longer than I expect. There's always one more detail to adjust, one more thing I want to perfect, and still I don't want to rush it. This morning we took a little walk around our neighborhood before heading to a different park. We like to change the scenery now and then. It was raining, so it felt like the perfect chance to wear our raincoats and simply play in the rain. These quiet moments, just the two of us, carry a certain magic. They are full of poetry and they inspire me more than anything else in my work. As we laughed and splashed together, I kept thinking, this is the kind of bond I want my little elves to embody. that sense of closeness, of companionship, of joy in the simplest things. That rainy day also inspired the illustration for the prompt leaf. Instead of a rainy made of water, I imagined a gentle rain of flowers. It felt like the perfect way to capture the warmth of that moment with Salvador, turning something grey and ordinary into something poetic and full of life. One of Salvador's favorite places to visit might sound unusual: the cemetery. He loves it there, especially the little watering cans people use to care for the flowers on the graves. He spends long moments filling them up, watering the flowers, watching the water spill over the soil. Maybe it sounds a bit morbid. I know that as a child I used to be afraid of cemeteries. I never imagined I'd grow to enjoy being in one. But here in Germany, they're quiet, peaceful places filled with trees, birds, and flowers. It's become one of my favorite spots to spend the afternoon with Salvador. That's where the inspiration for the critter prompt came from. Pepper decorating a little caterpillar with flowers as if preparing her for a tiny celebration. It made me think about how flowers have this gentle power to make everything more beautiful, even the things that carry a hint of sadness. That's why we place them on graves after all, to soften, to honor, to bring a touch of grace. And maybe that's what I want to bring into my art too, this idea of adorning life itself with tenderness, with color, with care. In the end, I only imagined to complete 10 illustrations for Peachtober, but honestly, I feel deeply content. Each of these 10 drawings brought me so much joy, and it felt wonderful to bring Basil and Pepper back to life once again. It's almost as if they truly came alive under my pencil, like old friends who returned to share a quiet autumn with me. I hope you enjoyed this little glimpse into my slow Peachtober. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next gentle story.